In recent days, Washington has been rocked by a new and deeply controversial revelation. Documents released by a U.S. senator suggest that the Biden administration oversaw a sweeping data collection operation, codenamed Operation Arctic Frost, targeting Republican lawmakers, conservative organizations, and even members of the media. According to Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, nearly 200 subpoenas were issued, allegedly gathering private phone records and communications data from elected officials and political groups. The senator describes the move as a violation of privacy, free speech, and the separation of powers. But as with all politically charged stories in Washington, there are two sides to the debate. Some view this as proof of weaponization within federal law enforcement, while others warn that early interpretations may be overstated or incomplete. Tonight, we take a closer, balanced look at what Operation Arctic Frost is alleged to be, what the documents actually show, and what it all means for American democracy and privacy. The controversy began when Senator Blackburn released a series of documents on Wednesday, claiming they expose a broad and invasive surveillance effort conducted under the Biden administration. The operation, she said, was overseen by the Department of Justice and the FBI, both of which have faced criticism in recent years for alleged political bias. Blackburn stated that 197 subpoenas were issued under Operation Arctic Frost, reaching 430 individuals and groups, a scope that, if verified, would make it one of the largest domestic data collection efforts targeting elected officials in U.S. history. Among those affected, she said, were 9 sitting U.S. senators, including herself. The subpoenas reportedly requested detailed metadata from telecom companies such as AT&T and Verizon, including who each senator called, when those calls were made, and even their physical location at the time. AT&T, according to Blackburn, challenged the subpoenas, citing the Constitution's speech and debate clause, which protects legislators from certain executive branch actions. Verizon, however, allegedly complied. Even more concerning to Blackburn and her supporters was a non-disclosure order, a so-called gag order, that prevented carriers from informing the targets that their data had been subpoenaed. The stated justification for this secrecy, according to the senator, was to prevent flight risk, witness intimidation, or evidence tampering. Critics argue those reasons make little sense when applied to members of Congress. In Blackburn's view, this operation represents not just an overreach but a constitutional crisis. She argues it infringes on the First and Fourth Amendments, violates the separation of powers, and undermines trust between the executive and legislative branches. The senator also pointed to an internal memo dated April 2022, reportedly from FBI Director Christopher Wray to Attorney General Merrick Garland, requesting authorization for Operation Arctic Frost. Garland allegedly signed off the following day. Republican lawmakers and conservative commentators have since amplified these claims, calling the revelation shocking, unprecedented, and evidence of weaponized government. Some have even likened it to past surveillance controversies such as the NSA's metadata collection programs. However, it's important to note that the Biden administration and the Department of Justice have not yet publicly confirmed or detailed any such program. As of now, no official record beyond the released documents has been independently verified by major media outlets. Legal experts are divided. Some constitutional scholars say that if such subpoenas were issued, they would indeed raise serious separation of powers concerns. Others caution that there may be legitimate national security or criminal investigation contexts that could have justified such data requests, particularly if they were tied to the events of January 6 or related investigations into threats against federal institutions. Democratic lawmakers, meanwhile, have largely remained quiet on the specifics, with some suggesting that the GOP's framing of the issue may be exaggerated. They argue that selective document releases can sometimes present an incomplete or misleading picture, especially when redacted or removed from full investigative context. Still, the optics are damaging. The idea of any administration, Republican or Democrat, subpoenaing communications data from sitting senators and journalists is troubling for many Americans. It feeds into a broader public concern about privacy, surveillance, and partisanship within the institutions meant to be impartial. Senator Blackburn has called for congressional hearings and a full investigation into the DOJ's conduct. She also signaled possible legal action to challenge what she described as blatant constitutional violations. Political strategists say the controversy could have major implications for the 2026 midterms and beyond. Republicans are expected to use the Operation Arctic Frost narrative to rally their base around themes of government overreach and the need for transparency, while Democrats may counter by emphasizing the importance of trusting due process and not jumping to conclusions. The story of Operation Arctic Frost is still developing, and facts are continuing to emerge. Whether this turns out to be a massive scandal or a misinterpreted bureaucratic action remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the revelations have reignited a long-standing debate about the balance between security and liberty, oversight and overreach, and trust and transparency within America's most powerful institutions. For now, lawmakers across the aisle are demanding answers, and the American people are once again left to wonder how much of their private data is truly safe from political scrutiny. As investigations unfold, the hope is that truth and accountability, not partisan spin, will prevail.